Hi everybody, welcome to Bird Explored new episode. Today we are talking about pigeons and doves, but I'm gonna say the archaic spelling pigeon. The name wild pigeon was in common use throughout the last century of the existence of the species, but archaic spelling pigeon still people I think using it. But we are gonna talk with Peter. Okay, Peter, where is Peter? Hello,
Hello, Uku.
how are you? Welcome back.
I'm good.
So we have nice presentation today. I think it's gonna be better episode than others.
Oh,
My
well,
opinion.
hey, there's something for everybody.
Yes, definitely. So today we are talking about, as I said, pigeon and doves, very
Well,
common birds. So,
well, some are common.
so yeah, definitely. But everybody know pigeon. So they are common in Turkey. Well, not all the species.
Right,
Some of them they are common in Turkey.
right.
And they are common in New York. So okay, so let's start. The first
Yeah,
bird. Well,
pigeon, Pidgeon. You said pigeon, Pidgeon is an older spelling and use of it. Most people
right.
don't use the D anymore, but it comes out the same.
Yes. So I have the book here. I mean, we are going to talk about the passenger pigeon today.
hmm
So the book is here. So
hmm
we'll talk about this book maybe end of the end of the episode. But they have very well. This one has very nice information. I think the all these people working on pigeons probably knows these information. They have, I mean, useful information already. But there are a couple of different books published about passenger pigeon and other pigeons. So we have PowerPoint presentation ready. May I take it to show?
Sure.
Okay. Here we go. Birds explored. Pigeons and doves. So I am gonna move to first slide.
There you go.
Wow. Columbidae family names, and
Yeah,
we have 313 species. I mean,
yeah. I think if a lot of people are very familiar with the bird that's here, that's the rock pigeon or the
right.
rock dove, widely distributed in Eurasia and now North America and elsewhere. Um,
They are
but
everywhere.
yeah, yeah, and people, sometimes pigeons get a bad reputation, a bad rap, and a lot of people only know about this kind of city pigeon. But 313 species with a lot of variety, a lot of variation, a lot of beautiful pigeons and doves in the world. Some not so common, and some extinct, as we'll see.
Right. So, well, everybody knows this pigeon. When we talk about pigeon, everybody thinks I think this species called in Bolivia, rock
Right,
pigeon.
right.
But there are others except rock pigeon. We have 312 more.
hmm
Oh, let's talk about little bit distribution. They are everywhere
Yeah,
except
the
very
family. Yeah, yeah,
part of the
yeah,
world. Yeah,
yeah. Yeah, look at that. Just some of the most inhospitable places is the only regions where you don't find them. Looks like a couple of deserts and the cold,
yeah. Here,
Antarctica and the Arctic, but everywhere else there's some pigeon species. Yep.
why is that?
I think they're highly adaptable birds. There's a lot of species. There's a lot of variation. I think they're able to evolve and occupy various ecological niches, adapt to
So,
food types and
are
things like
there are there any others? Well, I know there are some species just the border of the forest.
that.
So, is there any forest pigeons
Oh yeah, look at the map. I mean, they're in New Guinea, they're in South America,
near the Amazon
yeah,
Amazon
oh,
forests?
sure, yeah,
Some pigeons.
yep,
So it's interesting.
and
So the
all of the islands in the South Pacific.
right, right. Oh yeah, that's
hmm
that's true. I mean, it's very common. They are very common, except the deserts and the polar region.
But it's
So
interesting. The Pacific South Seas. You got those islands. It's a bit similar to Darwin's finches. where you've got a lot of these little islands have a fruit pigeons. The genus Tilenopus is one that comes to mind. That each one on each island, the different ones on the different islands that look similar. They've got common ancestors, but then there's variation over time and over location. So
Yes,
yeah.
yes. So yeah, let's move to another slide, and we have these birds.
Mhm.
I mean, this is pigeon, but the difference is this is, I think, bigger than rock pigeon.
Yeah, this is
The neck.
yeah, these are the rock pigeons on the left that everybody's familiar with, and I don't know the species of this one, but it may also be a columba, or it may be in the genus Ducula. It's a big pigeon. Just this slides here, just to illustrate a couple of things that I'd like to mention. One of the things is all of the pigeons and doves have this very sort of soft feathers, and we could talk about it at some point. But birds often are seen preening their feathers. They're running their feathers through their bill, and one of the things they're doing is putting oil on their feathers. There's a little oil gland at the base of the tail of birds, and they get oil there, and they put it on their feathers to produce vitamin D and to waterproof their feathers. But pigeons are one of the families of birds that doesn't have this oily plumage. It's more kind of fluffy. They have something called powder down, which are these little particles from the base of the feathers that sort of protect the feathers. But the other thing I wanted to mention was the bill of the pigeon is it's kind of a soft bill birds, as opposed to hawks we've been talking about, who have a very hard bill. And then you see on the right and the left, you'll see this big sort of white patch at the base of the bill.
Yes.
It's called a cere, where the
Yeah.
nostrils are. And in the pigeons and doves, they have this big fleshy cere. That's a characteristic of the family.
Wow, I didn't know that. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
so this one, the biggest pigeon here.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, in Turkey, they usually just close to forest, the outside of the city.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, but in Europe, we can see this species in a different places in the city, not only the forest, I think, but they are, my understanding in Turkey, they are not very close to human
Mm.
populations.
Could be. Yeah. Yeah. And of course, pigeons. Pigeons are great birds. I mean,
Why is
they're
that? Why is
well, they're versatile. I mean, they're tasty. They're easy to breed. People eat them. Um, they're used. There's a whole history we won't have time to talk about. Carrier pigeons carrying messages in the war, World War I, World War II. Carrier pigeons flying through shrapnel and bombing and all that to get a message to
right?
the front line or behind enemy lines or something. All kinds of pigeons are just it's superb birds. They have a great. There's a bunch of utility to them, and not just and they're beautiful birds.
No,
Yeah,
it's no
yeah.
doubt about this. I mean, they are beautiful birds, definitely, and diversity is very high in the pigeons.
Hmm. Another
So
thing you can see in this photo on the left, pigeons, of course, they'll sit on branches on trees. They'll walk on the ground, and they'll live on cliffs and buildings. And
right,
so you see the toes there, they're just kind of flat toes, three in the front, one in the back, nothing fancy there, but kind of short toes for and flat footed for walking on flat surfaces. So they're not going to perch on a little branch, and um, certainly they don't swim. So it's interesting to look at the way the feet are designed, and you can tell something about the bird's habitat or its lifestyle, how it walks, how it moves, by the shape of the feet, length of the toes, and the
okay.
arrangement of toes. Yep.
So also, I'm gonna ask you. I mean, well, I'll tell you the something when we go to, for example, New Zealand
Mm,
or Australia and all these islands,
mm,
though, and the pigeon diversity is very high. I mean, we
mm.
can see the all different kinds of pigeons.
Yep.
Not like this. I mean, very colorful birds.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, the diversity is over there, but my question is that is there any um, good diversity in Amazon forests?
Of pigeons.
Yes.
Um, I'd have to see how many genera and how many species are there, but I think there's good diversity in the New World tropics.
Right, like New Zealand or Papua New Guinea.
Yeah, I don't know that there is as strange looking there. You've got some really neat birds over in New Guinea, um, and the Pacific islands, but I'm sure South America has its fair share of interesting columbids.
Right. Okay, I'm gonna change the slide, move
Hmm,
forward.
more information. Right.
Oh,
So here's another interesting thing about pigeons. So this is a rock pigeon. It's just a different color. It's
yes.
Columbidae, and that pigeon's getting a drink. And I wanted to include a slide like this because most birds, when they drink, they take a little bit of water in their bill and then they put their head back, and the water trickles
Right.
down. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
pigeons don't. Pigeons and doves don't do that. They drink by they draw the water up into their beak like a straw. So if
Oh,
you
it's an
watch,
interesting
yeah,
behavior.
yeah, yeah, if you watch a pigeon drink, it doesn't put its head back and trickle water down its throat. It sucks it up.
Wow.
So that's why that illustration is there. I thought that was
It's important
interesting.
information. I mean, I didn't know that. I didn't really know that.
Well, here's some other neat things about pigeons. So their reproductive biology. So um, on the bottom right are pigeon eggs in a nest, and most pigeon species lay two eggs, maybe three, and they're always sort of just round white eggs like that, or egg-shaped eggs. And the nests of pigeons are usually very what's the word for it? They're not built very well. Well, it's usually just a couple of sticks. Some birds, like mourning doves, there's only a couple of sticks, and sometimes the eggs actually fall out of the nest. Other pigeons make a more viable nest, but those are sort of typical of the family. Those eggs there, and if you look at the top picture on the right, you see the squab or the baby pigeon at different ages, 4 days to 4 days to 17 days. And when they're young like that, the bill looks really big and they look very strange, not very attractive at all, these baby pigeons. But on the left-hand side, you can see how pigeons and doves feed their young. The
Yes.
male and the female pigeons, they both produce something called crop milk. Pigeons have a structure in their chest, in the digestive tract, um, that thickens with a high proteinaceous milk when they're breeding. And what's happening here in this illustration is that the young squab is sticking its head down into the parent's mouth, could be the mother or father, and the parent just pumps this pigeon milk into the crop of the young one. And if you look again at the upper right, the uh, the youngest bird there, the one that's 4 days old, looks like it has a crop full of pigeon milk. Now it's not like mammal milk. It's not composed of the same stuff, but the physiologic pathways for it to be produced is similar to mammal's milk. And the young birds grow very fast on it, very high, rich in fat, and they grow quick on it. So a lot of people say, "Oh, I never see baby pigeons. I never see baby pigeons." That's because, you know, if you miss it when they're looking like that, if you don't find a nest or something, they grow fast and they look like the adults.
I have some observation for the pigeon nests. I mean, they
Hmm.
are really grow fast. I mean, within very short time, they can fly.
Oh, the babies, yeah. Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah, squabs.
right.
Okay, so we got the good old rock pigeon on the right again, and the reason that that's there is because if you look in the middle of this slide, you see pigeons of the world, right?
Yeah, it's
Now those are pigeon species.
drawings.
Yeah, species, right?
Yes.
So you've got there looks like a Victoria crown pigeon, the Nicobar
Yes.
pigeon, all these beautiful pigeons.
This
On the
blue-
left-hand side is a chart showing pigeon breeds, not species,
Right.
breeds.
Yeah.
And that, a lot of people have raised pigeons for thousands of years and produced all kinds of different breeds.
Right.
And they are all descendants of the rock pigeon on the right. So the rock pigeon is the wild type bird. And from that, you get all of those breeds. And there's some very strange pigeon breeds. There are some that are called Jacobins, where the feathers come around the head like this, and the pigeon can't see. The feathers cover its eyes. There are other ones that are bred that the bills are so short that they can't feed their own babies. So you have to cross foster them. As soon as the babies hatch, you got to give them to a rock pigeon to breed. These are things that are perpetuated by human beings. They wouldn't necessarily survive very well out in the wild. So there's a lot of people, they may not know the difference between breeds and species when it comes to things like pigeons, ducks, chickens. So the natural occurring birds in the middle, and then the human produced breeds on the left.
Well, this is the effect of the domestication, I think, in general.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Right.
And of course, Darwin was a pigeon breeder, and
I was going to tell you, so that Darwin also used this example for domestication stuff.
yeah, I told you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So here is species. This is so cool. Yeah.
I mean, this is all diversity. I mean, I like this one, the middle one.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's the crowned pigeon.
I was talking about this. This is this crown pigeon from where? I mean,
New Guinea.
New Guinea.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they've been captured and eaten by people who've lived in New Guinea for thousands of years. It's a beautiful bird. It's the size of a turkey. And a lot of zoos have them. Yeah. And then the bird on the lower left is a Nicobar pigeon,
Mm-hmm.
which is just beautiful pigeon. The one on the lower right, it may be one of these so-called fruit doves or fruit pigeons. I'm not exactly sure.
That's
and
true.
the one on the upper right also. These might be tropical Asian forms. And the one on the upper left is a mourning dove, which is a very common bird in North America, which is just a kind of pigeon. Anybody who's been looking at all at birds will know the mourning dove. This is the bird that often people think when it makes a sound, they think it's an owl. It makes a ooh. Yeah, like it's mourning, mourning. Yeah. So
it is also famous in Turkey, this song.
Yeah, but it's not that species, right?
No. I mean, the same kind of behavior we have.
Yeah, there are a lot of these little doves that
right.
Yeah.
So here is the dodo.
This is really interesting, isn't it?
Famous bird and a bigger bird, but it's close to pigeons. So they have the common ancestor.
Yeah. And they're extinct.
They're extinct, yeah. Unfortunately, I mean, none of the skin available, right, for the dodo?
No, there's some bones, and there's a little bit of skin attached to a skull, which is where we got the genetic material to determine that they were related to pigeons. It was always sort of suspected that they were related to pigeons, but it's been confirmed with genetic work. So on the right-hand side, the slide's a little bit of a misnomer. It says prehistoricfauna.com, where the slide comes from. They weren't prehistoric. They became extinct during historic times. The dodo bird there on the left in that picture is a reconstruction. And dodos were found on an island called Mauritius off the east coast of Africa. And they're flightless. They couldn't fly. And they were sort of big and cumbersome. And when sailors from different parts of the world wound up landing on Mauritius, exploring, these birds were rather easy to catch and eat. And also they brought cats with them and rats on the boats. And a bird like a dodo that couldn't fly couldn't withstand that for very long. And so they became extinct. One interesting thing is the dodo is always depicted as this sort of rotund, big bird, like the one that you see on the right. But those were probably based on birds that were in the zoo, birds that were being fed constantly and weren't very healthy. The the painting on the left, in the whole slide there, is probably more what the wild dodos looked like. They were more gracile. They weren't as um, rotund and heavy. We
Right.
think, yeah. And then there's another bird there called the solitaire, which is a dodo relative, which is also extinct, and it lived on an island called Reunion,
Hmm.
which is a little further east, I believe, of Mauritius. So these flightless pigeons evolved on a couple of islands, um, but never made it into the oh god, they never made it into the 19th century. Um, they were gone in the 1500s, 1600s, around there, maybe the 1700s.
All they have the same story. I mean, human being really affected dodo.
Yeah, pretty much. It's
Right.
island endemic birds that can't fly.
That's true.
Yeah.
They don't need to fly. I mean, just
Well,
if
they
tell them,
should have. They should have.
yeah, definitely. Otherwise, they can get the story like dodo.
Yeah.
Okay, well, it's interesting. I mean, I know only the one skull available in the University of Oxford Natural
Right.
History Museum.
Right.
So I think the museum got some problems in the past. So they got some fire or something, and then the dodo specimens
Mm,
got destroyed,
mm,
and then they only save the skull of
mm.
this dodo. So
Yeah.
there's only one skull available, I think, in the world. There's
Yeah. I don't think there were ever any intact entire specimens. I think they were always just
no,
pieces. Yeah.
right. And here at AMNH, so in the department, we have only the
Bone. We have bones.
we have bones.
Yeah, we have leg bones and the sternum and some bones like that. And we've
Oh,
got a yeah,
I didn't know that.
yeah,
Okay.
and we've got casts of the skull that you're referring to.
Oh, that's great.
Hmm.
But here in the sixth floor, we have the demonstrate. I mean, the big dodo, but
Oh,
it's not really
the model that George
model.
Dante made. Yeah,
Oh, the George did that.
yeah, yeah.
Okay. It
Maybe
was the
when we talk to George in one of our shows, maybe we'll have a picture of that dodo, show people what he can do.
of course, and he should tell something about this. Yeah,
Yeah, I'm sure he will.
definitely. I mean, it's interesting. Okay. Um, here we are. It's another famous pigeon, passenger pigeon.
Another sad story. Yeah.
Yeah, this had a very sad story in the history, and then it's extinct. So I'm
Hmm.
gonna show the book again. So I got actually yesterday. So the passenger pigeon. You said I think this is thesis.
I thought it looked like maybe a thesis.
Right. There
I
are
don't
lots of
know. Yeah,
information in it. I mean, look at
yeah,
all these nice pictures and some drawings.
yeah. Maybe a published thesis. I'm not sure. Yeah, but there's been quite a few monographs on the passenger pigeon.
Right.
It was a North American Columbid. Yeah, and may possibly have been the most abundant bird in the world at one time.
Right.
Um,
But it's extinct.
yeah, now it's extinct. The last one died around 1914 or in 1914
Could you please tell
in
us the little
captivity.
bit story?
Well, yeah. So the North American continent before the early settlers showed up was just filled with beech trees and oak trees, and the seeds that go along with those trees. And this passenger pigeon was a very abundant wild pigeon on the continent that fed on those acorns and beech nuts. And they nested in huge colonies in those trees, thousands of passenger pigeon nests in one tree.
Wow.
And it was estimated, I mean, the bird was estimated in the billions. I mean, we're talking about billions of birds in a flock. And there's John James Audubon's illustration of a male and female passenger pigeon on the left. The male is a beautiful bird. So is the female. The male a little more brightly colored. And on the upper right-hand side are some study skins of passenger pigeons. There's a few males there with a pinkish or salmon-colored breast, maybe, and a female in the front. But at the bottom is an old woodcut or some kind of an illustration from back in the days when these wild passenger pigeons were hunted. And Native Americans would hunt them. Early settlers would hunt them, and it wouldn't let up. They would hunt these birds during the breeding season. They would cut down the trees to get the squabs, and this onslaught just was consistent. And in addition to that, there was clearing of the beech trees and the oak trees for farming, and these birds needed those trees for food and nesting sites. So gradually, over some decades, over 100 years or so, this bird, incredibly abundant bird, was starting to disappear. And eventually there were only a few left. There were some in the zoos. They didn't breed very well in zoos. And the last one died in the Cincinnati Zoo in 1914, the last one. So
1914, you said.
Yeah. So it's a cautionary tale about saying, oh, there's a whole bunch of these birds. It's not any problem. But there are all these ecological factors that go into it.
Right.
If you take two rock pigeons and you put them in a coop, they'll breed, But passenger pigeons weren't the same way. In captivity, they hardly bred at all. So, they probably needed large numbers to be able to maintain breeding populations and fecundity and things like that. So
it's interesting. And John James Audubon also did some paintings.
Yeah, it's right there.
Yeah, this one, and more paintings, I think, not only this one.
Yeah. So did Alexander Wilson, so did Luis Fuertes. And
yeah.
Passenger pigeons are incredible.
John Abbott.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
it's beautiful.
Abbott lived at Georgia, I think, and he painted, between 1790s and 1889.
Yeah, so he would have seen the bird in life.
1809, yeah. Wow, it's interesting bird. I mean, there are really huge diversity in pigeons and doves, and this one is the sad story.
Well, it's not, and so we got the solitaire and the dodo extinct, the passenger pigeon extinct, and I think there are a couple of other pigeon species that have gone extinct, and there are certainly some now that are very rare.
Right. Well, it's hard to understand sometimes, but I think that nature is kind of has its own balance. So when we really, affect this balance, no matter what, the white separate and very common birds can easily be extinct.
Right. Well, and another example there, maybe we could talk at some point, is the common grackle that we've been working on.
Yeah.
Those birds, they were only common in swamps and along rivers, and then when we opened up the land for farming, population exploded. But then since the 1970s, the population has decreased quite a bit, the common grackle. And we think it's because of, agricultural areas that farmers, they're allowed to get permits to destroy birds that eat their crops. And so that's been going on for a long time with the common grackle. It looks like it's starting to have an effect. And common grackle is now a near threatened species on some bird lists.
Yes, that's true. They are very common. The common grackle.
Yeah.
So we
but
made
the numbers.
Two different subspecies now, northern and southern common grackles. But yeah, they might not be common.
Right. The numbers are going down, but at least 50% since the 1970s. That's a lot.
Right. It's a lot. Yeah, definitely. I agree. Okay, Peter.
Pigeons
and those, it's done. So it is very interesting. Well, in general, I really like them because when we talk about pigeons, people always
Just think of the rock pigeon.
rock
Yeah.
pigeon and some dove species, and in
Yeah,
the
maybe
urban area.
somebody has a pigeon coop, or something like that.
Yeah, but nobody probably think about dodo. Nobody think about the passenger pigeon and other.
Yeah, but there are
You know,
some great old books, Pigeons of the World.
right? Yeah,
Really nice big treatises that talk about all of the
I don't know. I
species.
have here, but well, in my library also there is a monograph, the pigeons and doves. The Hamlin or Princeton monographs.
Yeah,
So yeah, they have the all these. I mean, diversity.
yeah,
This book can easily show. I mean, yeah.
yeah.
Well, okay. Thank you so much for today. I mean, it's a great show. It's a great episode and show.
Yes,
Of course, we have a
sounds
show.
good. Yeah, make sure that you like it and that you share it with your friends. Not you, Uko, but you can do it too. But everybody watching, okay.
Yeah, everybody's gonna watch. I
And
mean,
if you like this sort of thing, we're gonna keep doing it.
well, as far as I know, my students really keen about this. I mean, they are waiting.
Yeah,
They are waiting, and we already published the last week, but now we are gonna have every week one episode, new episode. So today we finished pigeon and stoves, and thank you so much, Peter.
yeah. Thank you.
So it was great show. I mean, for me, I always learn something.
It's fun.
Yeah, that's fun. Okay, so I'll see you the next one.
Next time.
Okay, bye for now.